Welcome to Tabulation. To help you choose some tabs for your altered book, I'm going to show you some of my examples first. So tabulation is just a funny word for creating tabs. So this is an old book. My friend Tracy Bunkers sort of prepared it for me. This is 2002. She set this up as an altered book for me, and then I added some other things. So we can round corners. That's kind of fun. That almost becomes a little tab. And this is from packaging, so this little hole kind of hung on something, and I can hang things from that hole. And I want you to notice in this book my tabs stick out here, and I don't do that anymore. We'll come back to that. This is maybe I glued it. I thought it was going to be an open page, but you could add vellums and stuff. That could just be a fun covering. These are like folder tabs. You can put them on the top, sort of folders. You can tape them on. You can sew them on. You can glue them on. This was from another tag or something, or an ad for something. And here's a cutout tab. So I cut this one out. That's fun too. They don't all have to stick out. And this looks like a photo tab that I added on there and stuck on there. Here's sort of a tab, but not really, but it's an envelope. That's a pocket. You can make pockets. We're gonna make pockets. Oh yeah, this is kind of a lift up. Not exactly a tab, but a flap that's just a photograph. And then this, it kind of hides this secret envelope here. So here's my envelope with my things inside it, and it's sort of protected on this side here. This isn't exactly a tab. It's this little fringe thing, tassel thing hanging down, but that's a fun added element to add to your altered book. Here's another old one. I think this might be from 2001. And what I love about this one is this tab is like a fake or paper firecracker that I just literally taped here with clear tape. That's all. Oh, here's one of those old font sort of things that I used as a page. Some of these, okay, this is just wax paper. Some of these are almost like tabs inside as opposed to being on the sides or the top. And so that's kind of a fun and cool little tab thing. Clear vellums we can add. And this one's really cool too. I haven't thought of this in a long time. It's just a stick that I wrapped and sewed on with this fake sinew, and that's really cool. Sort of a tab added here, and this is just a little plastic baggy kind of sleeve thing that became a tab or a sleeve. So I'll probably be calling things tabs and sleeves and pockets, and they're all the same to me, just different ways that we're adding interest to our pages. When we alter our book, we need at least 7 tabs. We're going to create 7 sections or 7 chapters that we're going to need different kinds of tabs for. And these are just little plastic tabs that I found. Like, you used to be able to find this stuff at old office supply stores, vintage stores. Now you got to buy them all online for really expensive. Another sort of, tab within a tab kind of. Shorter pages kind of make tabs. Old cards, like that's just an old card that I stuck in there. This is an envelope. This was the packing, what does it say, confidential envelope. That's sort of a tab that I stuck in and cut. This is something that flaps up. It's kind of a tab there. Okay, I just kind of cut out shapes. The tabs don't have to be a big deal, but they're you can see how fun it is as I go through all these little things sticking out. And the fun thing about these yellow ones is that it really adds some consistency to the book. And again, they stick out beyond the book. This one is like a full page tab. We'll call that a full page tab. And it looks like it was just a folder. And I often draw on folders, so that's just a quick figure gesture drawing. And I wanted to show this other one in this book because it's just a cutout space here. You can see that it goes through, so it's not exactly a tab, but it could be a kind of an inside tab. On this travel journal from 1999, this piece of whatever, I don't even know what this is, some kind of a trim, and I just stapled it on. But it adds this cool element to this book. Now this is a spiral bound. That's a no. We're not going to be using a spiral bound in this workshop. And this is another sort of bad binding book, but I love this because almost everything in this book is a tab. Here's some little pocket, here's a library pocket on this side that's really fun. Library cards, tags, and any of these things can be used to create tabs. Even little envelopes. I could have a little envelope tab that, you know, sort of opened on the side. You know, everything's a possibility for a tab. Everything's a fun idea. And this little thing on here, I don't know if you can see it, is actually a weird vintage paper clip. So I collect a lot of old office supply things. Here's a little pocket that I just made out of a folder. So here's another tab that's inside, and I probably just stapled this. I'm not really very fancy. And now we're seeing how the tabs are inside the covers now, and that is because my tabs were getting damaged, you know, when I put them on the bookshelf. And also this one's kind of fun because there's tabs at the top, not just on the sides. So this looks like it's a full page tab that I hinged in there, and this is a sticker, you know, so I find tabs and I collect them. This is like a little pirate sticker. This was probably a folder that's a tab there. This is just, looks like just a negative, you know, a film negative, photo negative. This was like an index file here with this ring in it, and we could hang things from here, but this kind of acts as a little tab. This is not exactly a tab, it's a fold out. We'll be doing some fold outs. This is a cigar box cover, and I don't recommend it because it's so thick. Here's a postcard, and postcards make great tabs, and I could have put it out this way. I like them because they're thicker paper, kind of like the manila folders are thicker as well. So more tabs. This is, I don't know, a label, a business card, I'm not sure. And I love this one. I don't do this too often, but what I did was I cut the page out, and then I sewed around it with sort of this embroidery thread here, or whatever this is, kind of string. And then actually hanging so that it hung down was a little pirate charm. So I have to find a new one and sew it in. Clearly it's lost. Okay, another tab up here, another tab on the side. And then tabs are fun because then you can write stuff on them, you know, kind of designate chapters. This little tab is just a cigar box label. So labels are good. Here I took a folder and made it fold up. You know, there's like a letter on here, so that goes back down. Here's a tab that I think this whole thing was a folder that I hinged in, and now it can open, and then I rounded the corners to kind of match the roundness of that folder tab there. Again, postcards make great tabs and hinge things. This little tab is just a sticker, some kind of a sticker kind of label. This is a cool, not quite a tab, but we'll call it a pocket, and I maybe taped it here and then stitched it on the bottom, so it's just a little side pocket, but I could have added another tab here. But see how fun the tabs make the book when I can see them here. More folders. I used a lot of folders. Here's another office supply item, and then you know, stick this inside here and put your word in there. I could, you know, kind of pop that out, little plastic there. That's fun. This one's just a sticker. You know, I buy all these stickers that are great tabs. More folders here, and I think this one I cut myself. I think this was just a heavier stock cardboard of something that I had, and then this is like an index file for a woodworking book, and it had this tab here, so I keep them. You know, I take these out of other books and keep them. So that's what we call this, a full page tab. So that's cool. And then I love this, makes this little window for this tab, and then on the other side I would be able to see something here, and I could put a word here or something. Another full page tab, I could hang something here. I could make another tab that goes around that. And this is just paper, but that makes a great tab. I mean, anything's a tab. Tape's a tab. And this one I put on with either probably some white glue, or maybe I even did double stick tape. You know, my glue stick, which I love, is not so great for putting on pockets. It's not that strong. Okay, we've got more pockets in here. And I may have even glued 2 pages together and put that on. This book's really falling apart. Here's another full page tab that I have here. And I love these old manila folders. And this one had this brown edging at the top and these numbers. I love this color, the manila, like the matches the masking tape. That's kind of a, you know, buttery cream color. And this is just something that I put in, and it's obviously falling apart. But this ragged edge almost becomes, you know, a tab. It definitely gives interest to the side there. This is not an altered book. This was a blank journal or sketchbook, and it had these craft paper pages, really thick. Wow. But I have a lot of tabs in here, and some of these I made at the top. And the problem with these top ones is that, you know, over time they've all gotten worn down. So I don't know if that's a good idea. And also the tabs that stick out, you know, from shoving them in bookshelves, they've also gotten bent back. And that's why now I put all my tabs, you know, within the covers just to protect them a little bit. So any kind of cool acetates that you find, you can also print on them. Old photographs also make cool tabs when you glue those in. Raggedy edges make cool tabs. Oh, here, there's a little thing. I don't know if it was a picture frame thingy. That goes there. But so you're just brainstorming what can be used to make a tab. How will you tabulate your book? So let's take a look at some supplies and suggestions for tabs and tabulation. I have here True Colors. This was a great, if you don't have this, it's a great addition to your collection about books and altered books. And this artist is Nina Bagley, so I encourage you to look her up. She does amazing metal things, and you'll see like some of this is wire, some of this is stitching. One of your tasks is to create a found object tab. And I think the hard thing about figuring out a found object tab is how are you going to attach it. Here's something that's put on with ribbon. We can see something sort of sewn on the bottom here. You might need some wire. So here's an example of, you know, this has rings in it. So that person was able to wire in these extra pages or extra tabs. You know, even a ribbon on the end. We can consider that a tab. So I encourage you to look through all your resources, books, Pinterest, Google people, things, Instagram, and look for ideas of attachments and alternative attachment methods. Okay, this little thing I made, I don't know when this was, but it's a really long time ago, maybe in the 90s, for advertising my classes. And I hung these around town. I made these cool things. So this is a pocket, but it all could be put together differently and be a tab. Or I could attach this into a sleeve in my book or hinge it in, and now it's a tabbed pocket. That is one of our tasks, is a pocket that's a tab. And then I had these, you know, flyers in here for my classes that people could take. And what I got a kick out of is a lot. Most of these were stolen. This was the only one that I found. People took stuff. Yeah, and this is just a little leather with a sewn on feather. This thing I could sew this on to the side of my page, you know, so where all the little spaces are, and put thread through there so that this, you know, hangs in some way. Okay, that's a cool tab. I might think of that. I found this handle, this little basket handle. I could put that on in some way maybe. I don't know how I would do that. Here's some of these stickers, like sticker tabs here. Who makes this? I don't know, but you know, everybody makes these now. I save all these folder scraps, you know, these vintage folders, so that I have a lot of different ones. Here's the one with the brown kind of. See, I'm running out. Here's that brown folder scraps here. You know, I love this color. And I can cut any of these. You know, I don't have to just stay with what's there. This is cool. That would be a cool tab, and we just cut it here. These are all cool. You know, I took these out of cookbooks. That's cool. They're kind of faded. These little recipe things are cool. This is real cool on the side there. Another kind of index thing. So those could be full page tabs, but you know, I can also just cut off parts of them and add them in different ways. Here's one with these little plastic ones on it. And I also just make and collect, you know, kind of weird tags and stuff. All of these kind of tag things are going to be cool. You know, like when I buy things, they're nice tags, then I can turn them into tabs. You're just going to play around with some of this stuff that you have and think about what makes a cool tab. And sometimes, you know, if you've got a hole in it, you can put, you know, one of these things to make it like a colored thing, and it folds over. All these little craft things you guys can find and buy. I mean, most of the stuff that I have is pretty old. You know, little pockets for library books, tags. This is like a little wooden tag thing. I think it was a bookmark. Bookmarks would work. You know, things with ribbon and other tabs on them. I don't know. These I've probably had since I was some of these I've had since I was a kid. These are cool things. And then alternative attachments like brads, sewing. You know, these little tags, you can find them. More of these little loopy things. They had this from my luggage. I mean, really, it's kind of crazy. I save everything. Oh, here's these guys, right? You saw those on my book. I don't know why I don't use them more often. That's really cool. Okay, fabric. You can use fabric and ribbon to make cool tabs. And you buy these things that have tabs like that. That's cool. Yeah, I don't know. These things, those would be cool tabs. Another thing we want to work on is, you know, we need a pocket tab. Here's kind of a weird plastic thing. You know, you can fold up little pockets, collage and scrapbook material. This is the back from an old stationery thing, which, you know, I could kind of fold somehow. We're just brainstorming. How do we make these things work? How do we turn them into pockets? Oh, here's a cool fold-out thing with postcards. There's so much fun stuff, and we're barely gonna tap into how much fun there is. But this was like a bag from a store in Ecuador. This is a beautiful envelope, and look how cool this is. I mean, if that was a tab, you could do anything. So, but this is a lovely envelope, and again, you just get the ideas because we're going to hinge these in from this side. We're going to come up with ways to get those in. You know, this has one of those, you know, loopy tie things. That's cool. You can find some of those. Again, postcards. These are really small envelopes, library card things. I don't know. I just found like little mailing things that are cool. If my book was big enough, or I can even cut it and sew it on the side. Old envelopes, mail art stuff is cool. Stuff with windows. This is really cool. This would be a really cool pocket tab kind of thing. Or I could take the top off and make that a tab on the side. I don't know. This tea thing. You know, movie CD case. You know, here's a little window. So all of these things would make really cool tabs. Yeah, it's true. I don't throw anything away. Okay, this would be a little bit thick to put a book cover in a book, but it's possible. I caution us against it because we're gonna have to take more pages out in the book, but it's possible. So we're thinking about possibilities for tabs. We need a full page tab. We need a tab pocket. We're gonna attach different ones. We need like a fancy tab that I didn't say. You're gonna make it up yourself. You're gonna brainstorm it. And then we need a found object tab. And the found objects I showed you were like the firecracker the stick, you know, but you could put little bottles on the side. I mean, there's all kinds of things that you could attach. Again, you have to figure out how you're going to attach it. Don't attach it beforehand. Just bring it with the possibilities of how, oh, that's so cute. I cut that out. I'm not that creative anymore, I feel like. Things that you, just bring the stuff and we'll brainstorm it there. Don't worry about getting it into your book yet. We're going to do all of that there. So you're just going to collect a few different things. Don't go crazy. I know it's hard not to go crazy. I know for me, I want to bring everything. So this is just tabs and how we're going to collect our tabs.